If you have written a book, I'm going to be bullying you. So keep that in mind, because I am so sick of authors not taking themselves seriously. Less than 1% of people who ever strive to write a book, who are ever like, okay, I need to write a book. I have a story in my heart, and I need to write it. Less than 1% of those people will ever publish a book. 0.6% of people who think I should write a book and who really want to write a book will ever publish it. And as an author, whether you are published or not, you have accomplished something that 99.9% of the world will never accomplish. 99.9% of people will never write and finish a book. Plus, if you're the type of person who has published multiple books or who plans on writing multiple books, you are a unique fucking person, okay? This is not something a lot of people can do. If you were to go out to the store or the mall or wherever you go, wherever people in your town hang out, and you were to ask 50 people, hey, have you ever written a book? Then none of them will say yes, or very few of them will say yes. Maybe one of them will say yes, if you're really lucky and happen to get a group of people where one happens to have written a book. But most people don't do it, okay? And if you tell all 50 of these people, hey, I wrote a novel and it's published, most of these people are going to be amazed, because that is a fucking accomplishment, okay? So why the fuck are you ruining it by not letting your book see the light of day, by not marketing it, by not giving it a chance, by not doing the best you can for this book? If you are not taking yourself seriously and taking your book seriously, then you are saying that everyone else who's ever written a book is inherently better than you. Everyone who's ever marketed their book is inherently better than you. If you want to be a full-time author, a 6-figure, a 7-figure author, you need to start taking yourself and taking your book seriously. Oh, but Kate, I just do it for the art. Oh, Kate, I don't really care about the money. Oh, but Kate, I just have to write this super niche story and there's no real audience for it because it doesn't have a genre. And really, I don't even want to read it. I just want to write it and publish it. And nobody wants to read it though. Okay, if that's the case, go watch something else. This video isn't for you. This video is for people like me who are sick of being broke all the time, who are sick of the grocery prices being what they are, and want things to change and want to make our lives better. I am so done with the idea that to be an author and to succeed as an author and to be a good author, you can't want to make money. You can't make money. There is this massive idea in so many literary spaces that wanting to make money from your books makes you a bad person or makes you a bad writer. But let's be real, especially if you're a woman in this space, especially if you're writing romance books, you are already doing something that is so looked down upon, despite being the reason, literally being the fucking reason, that places like Barnes & Noble are still open, okay? I write romance books and I write spicy romance, and my main thing that makes me the most money is my contemporary spicy romance books, and books just like that kept businesses afloat through a pandemic. I have helped over 2,000 authors go full-time in their business, and I'm going to say the ones who succeed are the ones who take it seriously and treat it like a business. And the ones who don't bullshit themselves and tell themselves, well, I can't do it because of this, or I can't do it because of this. Yeah, I get it. You don't have a lot of time. You're a mom or you work a full-time job. I get it. But don't come complaining to me when nothing is working for you because you refuse to put in the work, because you refuse to find a few minutes throughout the day to do the work, especially when you found the time to write a book. If you had the time to write a novel, you have the time to market that book, to make money from that book. Because let's be real, writing the book is the hard part. That is the time-consuming part. Learning how to market it can be the easiest thing in the world, or it can feel like the hardest thing in the world. Sorry, I'm just super frustrated because I had another person come at me today and say, okay, your strategy didn't work. I tried everything and it doesn't work, and it doesn't work because I have the super special genre and subgenre of romance where your strategy doesn't work, or where everything you're saying is a lie. And then I went and looked at their profile and everything they were doing was wrong. They weren't taking a single bit of my advice. They had literally just watched my videos and then gone and done their own thing that I said not to do in every video. Like, they went and posted their book cover and their cover wasn't good for their genre and didn't get their genre across very well, and they got 0 views because TikTok was like, well, this is an ad, so we're going to give it 0 views because we want people to spend money on ads. And also, people don't really interact well with ads on TikTok or on other social media. So we're not going to give this views because that's what it looks like. And like, that's literally what they did, despite me telling them repeatedly not to. And you might be wondering, why am I talking about being like a 7-figure author when 6 figures is plenty? I just want to make enough money to pay my bills, or I just want to make enough money for this, and that. But the thing is, you can luck into a really solid 5 figures. I know for a fact that I lucked into my first year where I made $50,000 from my first series and then had no idea where to go from there, and like failed for another couple of years before I figured all my shit out. Okay, you can luck into 5 figures. You can luck into 6 figures, but 7 figures, if you're lucking into that, it is because you are backed by a publisher or by someone else who is able to put in that marketing work for you. That is the only way to luck into 7 figures, by being backed by other people doing all of the work that you should be doing in the first place. Okay, so how do we treat this like a business, right? I have been writing books for years and I treat it like a business and I do really well with it, right? I'm a 6-figure author. I make money doing it. Because obviously, like, it's fine if you want to treat it as a hobby, but if you're coming at me complaining that you're making no sales and making no money and that your family can't afford to eat this month because you're not making any money from your books, but you're still treating it like a hobby and you're doing hobbyist things, I'm going to tell you, stop treating it like a hobby. Do the work, put in the work, do it correctly so that you're treating it like a business. Because let's be real, treating a business like it's a hobby is a form of self-sabotage, and you are ruining your own life by doing this. So if you're ready to stop sabotaging a very promising career that, if you treat it like a business and you're consistent with it and you put the work in, can make you a metric fuck ton of money, listen up, because you need to stop refusing to put the basic work in. You need to stop making it harder than it already is. Like I said, writing the book is the hard part. The marketing doesn't have to be. You need to stop refusing to get on social media because, oh, I don't really like social media. Like, I don't care if you're not spending money on your marketing. You have to go on social media, okay? That is how to market your books. If you're not going to events and physically selling copies of your books, then the way to make a full-time living from these books is through social media, and you need to stop complaining about it and just complaining that you hate it so much and that's why you can't do it. You're the specialist person in the whole world and you're the only one who can't make social media work and who can't do social media because you have bad feelings about it. If you have that feeling about it, then don't expect me to help you. Don't expect other people to help you when they are putting all of this work in and they're putting in a lot of free labor to explain to you how to do things and try to help, and you're refusing to take action on that thing. You're also, when you're refusing to do these things and you're refusing to put the effort in and just do the damn thing, then you are telling your subconscious that you aren't worthy of having this. You're not even worthy of having your grocery bill paid. Or you're telling yourself that that book that you absolutely hate, that's on every bookshelf in the entire fucking world, is better than anything you could ever possibly write because you aren't putting the effort in and you're not willing to put the effort into your book, into your work, into your career that these other people are doing. You are telling yourself that you're not worthy when the thing that you hate is getting all this attention. Or otherwise, you're being super classist and ableist by saying, well, everyone else is actually wrong and not smart enough to comprehend that my thing is better, and so I'm not going to try. You're assuming that people aren't going to like your thing because you're so much better and elevated than everybody else in the entire world, which again is total bullshit. And if you want to complain about that, go ahead and tell me in the comments, because I'm going to tell you, I don't care how you feel about that. And it is not my job to make sure that you sell your books. It is my job to, one, sell my own books, and to give you the information and give you access to the information to sell more books. It is not my job to make you feel good and to help you justify not being willing to do the work because you're so much better than everybody else because of your super special genre that you can't even find on Amazon. For one, that's bullshit. Your genre does exist on Amazon, you're just refusing to find it. Or for another, if you are writing in a super special hyper niche that doesn't exist anywhere and nobody wants to read, why would you expect to sell that? If you want to treat this like a business, you need to write books that people want to read. Now, I don't care if this is like super niche LGBT teen romance books about shape-shifting mermaids who like to drown people in a lake. That is from personal experience from my old YA phase. And I don't care if you are writing the absolute most played out enemies to lovers romantasy. Whatever you're writing, you need to be able to sell. It needs to be something people want to read. There is an audience for your book if you write it in a way people want to read it. If you want my actual advice that gives you the step-by-step instructions on how to market your book and make your life easier and actually sell books, make sure to check out the link in the description below. So here are some actionable steps that you can take to make your author career easier and actually make money. And a lot of these things are things that I didn't do or refused to do my first year that made me luck into $50,000 and then made me super broke for the 2 years following, to the point that I literally had to live in a shed with no running water. So the first thing you're going to set up is going to be a mailing list. This is going to cost a little bit of money, okay? But when you're just getting started, you need to be willing to find a way to get the extra $15 or $20 a month for this mailing service. Get rid of your Netflix subscription if you have to, because having the mailing list is going to be what allows you to build your career over years and years. If TikTok goes down the toilet, if everybody jumps off of Facebook, if making ads of romance books becomes illegal, you need to have a way to let people know when you have new books coming out or to remind them of a book that came out. So what I do for my mailing list is pretty simple because I want to make sure people on my mailing list are people that I know have already bought my books or downloaded them with like Kindle Unlimited. So what I do is I have a little snippet at the end that says, if you want a bonus scene of these characters in XYZ situation, make sure to sign up for my mailing list. And then my website has a page that they receive a link for in the mailing list in their very first email. They're going to get a link to a page on my website that has those scenes, and it has the scenes sorted by which book so that they can easily scroll and find it and then click on the scene, and that's going to lead them to the actual scene they can read. I don't just paste all of the scenes in their full long form on one page for people to endlessly scroll. I have it pretty well organized so that they can find it on that page, and that way I don't have to segment my email list to a bunch of different people. Another reason this works is I'm not giving people the option of like, if you're thinking about reading my book, join my mailing list and I'll give you a prequel or something free to try out or a full novel to try out. I'm giving them something that proves they already enjoyed my book because they want more from these characters. So the second thing you need to do is post on social media consistently. Okay, just post. I don't care that you're anxious about it, okay? I'm anxious about it too. I used to have anxiety attacks every time I would post on TikTok. And yeah, that was really stressful. But guess what? Nobody came to my house and murdered me because I was posting page flip videos on TikTok in 2022. Nobody sent me hate mail and threats. The world didn't end. And guess what? I made more money, okay? Just deciding to finally post and post consistently made me money. And I don't mean post once and expect it to blow up and go viral, okay? Posting once and going viral is a total myth. It doesn't happen for 99.9% of people, and you need to lay that to rest, okay? If you post consistently, most of your audience is going to be people who have never seen your content, and when you are posting consistently, you are building an audience, and people who do see your repeat content are more likely to buy your book. Did you know that it takes 7 times of somebody seeing something before they actually purchase on average? Of course, there's going to be exceptions where somebody's going to read your book based off of one post that they saw, but for the majority of people, it takes a lot of reminders before they will purchase something. So make sure you're reminding them because they want to read your book, okay? You're not going to be annoying people by posting about it multiple times. Give them the opportunity to see you and to see that your thing exists. If people get annoyed by you posting over and over again, which I've had here on YouTube, I've had people comment and say on my shorts, which mostly go to new people, and say, hey, I am so sick of you posting multiple times. And you know what I've said? Instead of saying, oh no, I'll post less, I'm so sorry for being visible, I'm so sorry for posting the same content repeatedly, I'm sorry for trying to build an audience. I said, okay, then don't watch my content. Like, I don't give a shit, okay? You need to figure out a way to not give a shit and to give yourself confidence, because you're going to be sharing stuff a lot, okay? Posting once is not gonna make you a millionaire author. Posting once isn't gonna make you a ton of money. There will eventually be posts that individually make you a ton of money where you eventually go viral, but this shouldn't be your entire strategy. If your entire strategy relies on going viral so that you aren't broke as shit, then you have a bad strategy. So the next thing you need to do is you need to refuse to be embarrassed about your work. If you are too embarrassed to share your book and to tell people about your book, then why would somebody else read it? If you are too embarrassed to even say, I wrote this book, here's some interesting facts about it, then why would somebody else bother reading it? If the author clearly hates it and has no interest in sharing it and is ashamed that they wrote it, why would somebody read it when there's another author who's super excited and super confident? But guess what? You don't actually have to be confident on camera all the time and super excited and super confident. You just have to pretend. And you can do like the slideshow posts that I do for my TikToks, for my books, because let's face it, it's really hard to be on camera all the time. But even doing that shows a type of confidence because you're posting those multiple times a day and then selling books from that. But when it comes to refusing to be embarrassed about your work, that's included when it comes to like actually posting. You have to have some level of confidence to just post, and you have to refuse to be embarrassed about your work. And confidence is not something that you have inherently as a person. Confidence is something that you gain from putting yourself out there, from working at it. If you are super worried about other people judging you all the time, then you can live in a box and be upset about the box you live in, but you have to be aware that you are putting yourself in a box by refusing to put yourself and put your work out there. Something else that I refused to do when I was getting started is I refused to do any sort of analysis on my content. And that doesn't mean running some super special software or program. It literally just means looking for patterns in what you're posting, which will then help you figure out why your books aren't selling. If nobody is favoriting your post using the bookmark icon on TikTok, that could be a good indication that your posts aren't converting, that even if people are viewing and commenting, they're not actually interested in going back and reading your book. You also need to look at your cover and be serious with yourself. Does the cover that your 15-year-old niece drew actually look good for your genre? Does the cover that the Span Me Vanity Publishing Company did, does that actually work for your book? If the answer is no, you need to change it. You need to get a cover that actually works. And this doesn't have to be a super complex cover design, but just learn some basics yourself about like text placement and images and like Photoshop skills, and make something in Canva. Sign up for like a free trial on Envato Elements to get your images, because Canva Premium images cannot be used for book covers, but like get those images from Envato, do some really basic photo editing, throw a couple of filters on there, and do some really basic text. You do not want to get too fancy with your text. It can ruin an entire cover. And make sure your cover matches your genre. For example, this cover that I did was for a super spicy romance book that I wrote in 2019 before I knew anything about marketing. And guess what? People were mad that it was spicy because it did not fit the expectations of the cover. The cover matched a genre that didn't match the book. When it comes to analyzing your content, you also need to take advice seriously. If an author who is doing better than you and who is doing really well gives you advice, or somebody who has tested it with literally thousands of people gives you a piece of advice, don't just throw that advice in the trash. Sure, not all advice works for everybody, but just assuming that a piece of advice isn't going to work for you because you have the super special magic book that's impossible to market is actually incredibly vain and makes your ego look ridiculous, because you are assuming that your book is so special that nothing could possibly do well with it, that nothing could possibly work for it other than what you end up doing, which in my experience and from what I've seen tends to be posting the cover on Facebook or arguing with people and yelling at them that their books must suck because you're the only good writer in the world. Those are the two sides of that I've seen, is people saying, oh, I hate this and I hate that this is how books are because the stuff that I write is so much better and I want my books to be art. And that's their marketing strategy, is shitting on other authors. Well, guess what? Authors talk. And a lot of what works is helping our author friends sell more books and doing newsletter swaps and doing Facebook group shares or talking about each other's books on TikTok. So if you're spending all of your time shitting on other authors for your book marketing, authors aren't going to like you and readers aren't going to like you either. Which leads me to learning basic things about the industry. Like I said, authors talk. Join some Facebook groups that are specifically for authors. The best one I've found that is not spammy is 20 books to 50K, because they don't let people bully each other on that platform and they have a lot of really good advice, and it's one of the most highly renowned Facebook groups for authors, which means that you're going to get a lot of good advice from authors who are making a ton of money because they trust that posting in that group is safe and that they are going to be able to share this and that the admins are going to make sure they don't get harassed and bullied over it. You also need to learn things like rankings. Just because your book is number one in like a super niche category doesn't mean that your book is a bestseller. And if you're assuming that being number one in a super niche category makes you a bestseller and means that Amazon is showing your book to everyone and nobody's buying it just because nobody likes your genre, you need to actually learn what those categories mean. Because I've also had a ton of people come to me and say, well, my book is a number one bestseller, but I'm only making $10 a day. And they usually say that after I say, okay, well, I had this client who was making, $4,000 a day from being number 70 or 80 in the Amazon store. And they're like, well, I was number one and I only made $1 or $5. And I'm like, well, then you weren't number one. And I have to break these people's heart because they don't know the basics of this is actually what the categories mean. So you have to look at Amazon overall rankings. You have to look at the different categories, because making sure you're in the right categories is also going to help with your book marketing and with Amazon organically recommending your book, because so many people have already bought your book from your social posts or from your mailing list or wherever. You also have to have a deep understanding of your genre. If you are writing romance books that don't have a happily ever after or a happily for now, at least in the series, if it's a full series, there has to be some sort of happy ending that wraps everything up at the very end, then you're not understanding your genre and you're going to have people who refuse to read you forever and ever and ever because you didn't have that basic genre expectation. If you're writing a cozy mystery and we don't figure out who did the murder at the horse show or whatever, then you're not fitting the expectations of your genre. Thankfully, talking this out has really chilled me out because I was really genuinely mad at the beginning of this video and recorded it because I was mad. So if you want to actually learn how to market your book and learn how to get the confidence to market your book, make sure to check out my bundle down below, which has helped over 2,000 authors go full-time.